Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we welcome Mr. Harish Varadharajan, and he will speak on the topic Why High-Tech Farm is the Future in India. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Harish here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fragaria Fruits Private Limited. So maybe I give some quick background about what Fragaria and what Fragaria does and what is my background. So Fragaria, the aim of Fragaria Fruits is basically to create a fruit brand where world-class fruits, which is on par with fruits available in the rest of the world, is available 365 days a year, right? So now, how do we do this, right? So basically, how do we ensure that the fruits are available 365 days a year is with the climate change and different climate in India is by controlling the climate, uh, by doing agriculture by controlling climate. So that is what we are working towards. We are creating climate independent fruit factories, right? So we build factories which are independent of climate and are able to produce 365 days fruits at consistent quality throughout the year, right? So this is what we are building in Fragaria Fruits. And who are the co-founders of this? The first co-founder is me. I'm a CA. I have very limited knowledge related to agriculture, but I have worked in leading agri-tech startups in Dubai, a company called Pure Harvest, and also in SmartCast in Netherlands and London, right? So that is me, and the two other co-founders are Timothy and Damian. They're from South Africa and Mexico. They moved to India to work on this idea. So they are from Wageningen University. They have double masters in agriculture and have extensive experience on growing in high-tech farms, right? So this is the background. So what have we done in Fragaria so far, right? So we've gone with first is strawberry factory, right? Where every time you basically switch on a button, you're producing strawberries at a particular quantity, right? So why did we choose high-tech farming, right? So the answer is very simple, right? So if you take any business, so first is at the end of the day, this is a business, right? If you're doing agriculture, if you're starting any business, it has to make money, right? So now to make money, what is the three important factors? It is revenue minus cost, which is equal to profit, right? And the profit should be enough to recover what amount you've invested in the business, right? And this is the basic of any business, right? In any business, you are able to control or have a 90% accuracy on two or three out of these metrics, revenue, cost, or profit. It is a very good business to be part of, right? Unfortunately, agriculture is one business or traditionally has been one business where all three of them are unpredictable. Why is it? Revenue is split into how much you produce and what is the price you get, right? How much you produce is determined by the nature, is determined by the ground, it's determined by how skilled you are as a farmer, etc., etc., right? So that is unpredictable. Now, the second part of revenue is the price, right? So when a farmer produces traditionally in India, a middleman collects the produce, goes to the mandi, sells it, and then only the farmer even knows how much has the middleman sold the produce for, right? Which is extremely unfortunate, right? So in the first part, revenue, quantity and price you get for quantity, both are uncertain, which is a major red flag. Now coming to the cost. Again, cost is also not fixed in traditional agriculture because that also changes based on is there floods, is there too much wind, is there going to be more fertilizer, pesticides which you're going to use, etc., and more water, etc. So this is also uncertain. Because the revenue and cost is uncertain, the profit is also uncertain, right? And now, since the profit is uncertain, putting money into a traditional agriculture is almost as risky as betting your money on anything, right? You're hoping 100 things go correct so that you make money on the investment you're making into traditional agriculture, right? So this is the basic premise of why we chose high-tech agriculture. Now let's come to high-tech agriculture, okay? So for the first part, revenue, amount of kgs you produce is 90% accurate because the strawberry plant can only give certain amount of grams per plant, right? And the same is true for how much cycles you can do and what is the yield you can get, because you're controlling almost all the elements there, right? So you're almost, when we are constructing a farm, we are almost certain, 90% certain, that we are going to get so much kgs of strawberries, blueberries, or raspberries, right? And the same thing we did in tomatoes and lettuce in Middle East, where we were able to predict with 90% accuracy how much are we going to get, how much produce are we going to get out of this farm, right? So now this is the biggest advantage of high-tech farming. You know what you're getting, right? Now revenue has two parts. First part is amount you produce. Second is what is the price you get. The most the blessing for agriculture in India or high-tech farming in India that has happened is the quick commerce, right? So the quick commerce players are hungry for differentiating between themselves. As you would know, a lot of money is pouring into a quick commerce space at this point of time, right? So they're all very keen to see how they can differentiate themselves from others. So if you are a player who comes and says, okay, I'm going to differentiate, my strawberries are going to be better, my strawberries are going to be available non-season, etc., etc., the people in quick commerce get super excited, right? And what do they give in return? They give stability in prices and quantity in return, right? So in high-tech farming, technically, you have covered the revenue bucket very smoothly, at least with 90% accuracy. Your quantity is known, your prices are fixed for the year, right? So the revenue part of it is solved. Now let's come to the cost part of it. Cost part of it is the most beautiful part, right? Like, because if you see a high-tech farm, you will know that a majority of the cost goes in electricity, because you have a lot of automation, control, sensors, lights, etc. You spend a lot on electricity. And the best part about electricity, for example, in our strawberry farm, 50% of our cost is strawberry electricity. What is the best thing about electricity cost? Electricity cost has two parts: consumption and rate. Rate is fixed by the government for 1 year, no change in that. Consumption, every machine has a rated capacity, and you can predict with 95% accuracy that this is what it will consume, right? So 50% of your cost is certain. Other costs, more or less, if you've done farming, you will exactly be able to predict with 90% accuracy what are being going to be your cost: the fertilizer, the pesticide, the labor, the plant cost, etc., the peat cost, etc. So the most beautiful thing about high-tech farming is both the revenue and cost is more or less fixed, right? You know before getting in, and you know that before getting in, this is what you're going to get as profit. And since you know that with 90% accuracy, you're going to get, let's say, 2 crore EBITDA or profit from a particular asset, you can exactly predict what is the amount you're willing to invest into that farm, right? So imagine, so fixed deposit, right? Fixed deposit, why do we do it? Because we know exactly that we are going to get 6 to 8% out of it, right? So we are certain with 100% accuracy. In the high-tech farms, if you back the right teams, you're able to get at least 90% accuracy, saying that you will be able to get 15 to 20% return, right? So first thing in the favor of high-tech farm is, in my view, certainty of earnings, right? It removes all the disadvantages of traditional agriculture. It removes all the problems in traditional agriculture in terms of certainty, right? Okay, so this is my first point, certainty. Second point is how efficient these farms are, right? Um, as you would know that we are consuming a lot of water and soil by doing this traditional form of agriculture. And since we use a lot of fertilizers and pesticides, the land carbon content in the soil also reduces significantly, right? So in high-tech agriculture, majority of them are either grown in a substrate and uses drip irrigation and hydroponic, which reduces significant amount of resources consumed, right? So this is why the second part of it is amazing in terms of not only it's commercially attractive, it is also environmentally better for the planet and for the country, right? And third is basically the third part of it is the pesticide-free angle, right? Since in a high-tech farming, you are able to control a majority of the things, and you hardly let any outside pests and diseases come in, right? You are able to use uh, you're not using pesticides at all, or very limited use of pesticides. So this ensures that you're getting basically a very strong product, very highly tasting product, which are completely pesticide free, right? And the fourth one is the last point in my view in the overall setting is it is the precision with which you can make decisions, right? Instead of uh, precision and make it repeatable and scalable. One of the major things they say in agriculture why it is not investable is you might be a good farmer and I'm a terrible farmer because I've been an accountant. What if you scale and you give it to other farmers and they end up being like me, right? Like a terrible farmer, right? How does high-tech farming solve this? You can actually create standardized protocols, standardized operating procedures, and books basically to ensure that all you need to do is very basic protocols and you will be able to repeat the magic 365 days for the rest of your life. Right? So it becomes a machine which a layman can operate. Right? So that is the fourth part. It makes it efficient and also it is very repeatable and scalable, right? Which makes it more investable. So these are more or less the 4 points. The first one is it is way more certain. Second is less damaging to environment, less soil usage and less water usage. Third is in terms of pesticide free. Fourth is repeatable and scalable. The fifth is it's a very India specific problem. Is one when we are scaling up, we found it really difficult to find pieces of land, right? Where basically we were able to get large pieces of land where we were able to grow specific crops, right? So we were getting 3 acres here, 4 acres here, 5 acres here, 6 acres. So you have to be super. It's not like US or Canada or Europe where you get like 100 acres in one place or 50 acres in one place. It becomes almost impossible to get that, right? So now, how do you solve for this? Basically, high-tech farming, especially if it's vertical, you are able to solve for this land problem, and you're able to, for example, what we produce in half an acre of a strawberry farm is equivalent of producing in 15 acres of uh, outside land, right? So which makes it incredibly exciting, right? Because then you will need to produce 100 crore of revenue, you need only 20 acres. But if you had done this if you had done this in the traditional, you will need 600 acres because all of us know that 600 acres in one place in India, finding a land is almost difficult with all the land troubles, etc. So these are predominantly the 5 reasons why we think high-tech farming is the future, and it is almost inevitable that India will move towards it. So I'm open for questions if any.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful presentation. I'll take up the questions now. The first question is, sir, do you think high-tech farming is as a replacement or complement to conventional farming?
So, 100%, I think it is complement to conventional farming. Why do I say that? Right? High tech, anything you do outside of traditional farming, it is going to be more expensive. Right? So, if you are going to spend more money on it, customers should be willing to pay more for it. Right? For certain crops, it makes absolutely no sense to go high tech farming. Right? For example, onions, potatoes, like completely basic vegetables, like basic tomatoes, like hybrid tomato and things like that. You don't need to go high-tech farming. High-tech farming makes sense only when there is a gap in the market and you are not able to produce throughout the year, right? So it is definitely going to be complementary along with traditional farming. In fact, the scope of high-tech farming will be very limited to certain crops where the commercial value makes sense. Because what is the point of growing tomatoes? So what's the point of growing onions in high-tech farming if you're going to make less money out of it. And from customer point of view, there is not going to be any difference between your high-tech farmed onion and a normal onion. So it is 100, it will never, in my view, high-tech farming will be complementary. The traditional farming will be modernized, like use of sensors, use of better seeds, etc. But high-tech farming, it is almost impossible to replace the traditional form of agriculture.
Okay. Your company uses vertical farming and controlled environment agriculture. How do these technologies improve yield and quality?
How do these technology improve
Yield and quality.
yield inequality? Is that your question?
Yield, sir. Yield and quality.
Yield and quality. Okay. Got it. So we use vertical farming for strawberries and controlled farming in a way of polyhouse for raspberries and blueberries. So what is yield and quality, right? So yield is the potential of the plant. The quality is at what time do you what genetics do you use and what time do you harvest and what's your cold chain, right? So let me first answer the yield part of it. See, it is very simple logic that if you're using high-tech farming, let's say in our strawberry farm, right? The plants are so well maintained, like they get exact temperature, exact humidity, exact CO2, exact airflow. Imagine a child is growing up in this, right? They've been trained from day one to get into Harvard, right? So it is almost impossible that a yield from a high-tech farm or a vertical farm will be lower than traditional farm because we spend so much to control the climate in for that plant, right? So yield generally is 1.5 to 1.7x of what you get from outside. Like if a outdoor strawberry plant gives 200 grams, the indoor gives 400 to 500 grams, right? So that is on yield. On quality, again, is basically since you are controlling it so much, you are able to harvest it at a later stage. And since you have already invested so much on the assets, you technically follow the supply chain as well. So the supply chain, in a way, is not beyond is beyond your control. But we basically, since we are selling at a premium price, we do something called as blast freezing. So reduce the temperature of strawberries immediately and then store it before. So that improves the shelf life. Like typically, if you buy from Mahabaleshwar, it's 1 to 2 days shelf life. Our strawberries have a shelf life of 5 to 7 days, right? Because we do the pre-treatment or blast freezing. So logically, yield and quality has to be substantially better. That is why is that better? Because we are spending more money on infrastructure. So how are we benefiting from it? We are charging a premium and getting a better price from the market.
Okay. Can you explain how AI sensors or automation are actually used inside your farm?
So let me explain the automation. So what are the different parts in our farm, right? So first is sunlight, which is our LED lights, right? So LED lights we are basically trying to mimic the sunrise and sunset, right? So the sunrise, imagine a plant, right? So it doesn't immediately get light. It slowly wakes up, goes towards the peak and comes down. So basically we in our software we say your sunrise is at 7 a.m., peak at 12, sunset is at 6 p.m., off at 7 p.m. So the software immediately controls the light in a exact same way as it happens outside. Now light is controlled. Second is we have a complete HVAC climate controlled environment, climate controlled system. What does the system do? Imagine your house AC, right? You can fix temperature, correct? In this case, we have designed it thanks to our designer from Denmark. We have designed, we can type what temperature, what humidity, what is the CO2, what is the airflow. These four we can put in the software, which we have created ourselves. We put in the software and the temperature, and all of these things are controlled by an AHU, right? And not only this, we have created 6 schedules. We can create from 7 to 10 p.m. on schedule, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., 2 p.m. on schedule, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., things like that, right? So this is the second part of, and this is also completely automated. My grower sitting in Netherlands can do this, right? He doesn't have to be in Chennai or Bangalore or whatever, right? Now, what is the third part of this is the irrigation. right? So when it comes to irrigation, so we use drip irrigation, right? So there also we use a software where we basically can key in at 9 a.m. give 1 minute of irrigation, 11 a.m. give 2 minutes, 3 p.m. give 4 minutes, things like that. We put in and it's completely automated, right? So all the major parts involved in farming, which is lights, climate control and irrigation are fully automated, right? So what do laborers or human beings do in our company, right? So one is they basically maintain the crop, they cut extra leaves, they cut extra runners which are running up, and they do harvesting of strawberries, they pack. So basically people working in our company, our logic is they should not think, right? If you go to a Hero Honda manufacturing factory, do you think the workers there think? No, right? They just do whatever activity is given to them. They don't necessarily use their brains. The same logic we want to use here. We don't want our workers to think. We will do our thinking. We'll set everything. You just have to cut waste leaves, harvest strawberries, and pack them, right? This is the automation part of it. Of course, harvesting in many parts of the world is now automated with robots. Like we don't find a business need in India given the labor wages are quite low, right? That is not something. So with respect to AI, right? So AI at this point of time, our usage is very limited to weekly reports, right? So what do we do? We basically upload all our plant data. For the last 2 years, we've been uploading. So we upload every week asking AI for feedback, saying, can you compare it with our previous planting? And what is the standard? And give me a feedback on this, right? So that way, we are not only using manual judgment of the plants, we are also asking AI or the LLMs to basically tell us how does it compare it to the previous planting. Is it better? Is it worse? And it gives a rating. Like we have coded in a way that it gives a rating. Okay, you're a 9 out of 10. You're 10 out of 10. You're 5 out of 10. Because last planting was beautiful. This planting you made some mistake, right? So this is current AI usage is just limited to this, but automation is where most of our play is at this point of time.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question.
Sure.
Can high-tech farming significantly reduce pesticide usage and environmental damage?
Yes. So pesticide usage, 100%, right? It can almost eradicate pesticide usage, right? How do I say that, right? Like for you take our example, right? Our strawberry farm, if you have to enter, you enter the office and you have a changing room. You have to wear a coat, a hat, and shoe cover. Or if you're working there, you have to use the clothes which are respected there. Then you wash your hands, wash your feet, and the entire farm is sterilized. The entire farm growing area is sterilized. There's literally no outside influence on the farm. If you're making it so controlled, right, technically there should not be any pests at all. But there is still one gap which can exist, which is the plants itself. If you get the plants infected, if you get the plants which are already infected, then you're in trouble, right? So basically, then you're in trouble. So what ends up happening is you have to either grow from seeds or tissue culture to avoid this situation, right? We are trying both of the approaches to avoid pests. So far, we've been very lucky with pests. We have not received anything, or we've had limited exposure to it. And even in Pure Harvest, we had very limited exposure with respect to pesticide use. Now with environment, so what are the damages which we cause, right? One is the land damage because we use fertilizers, the carbon content reduces over time to even alarming levels in some places in India. And second is water, right? Water wise, we use 95% less water, right? Because we only give them, you will be surprised that we even give them only 100 ml of water per day, the strawberry plants. That's all they need, right? Like imagine if you're doing it outside, you have to put a big pump set, put a lot of water in, etc., etc., right? So that is the big advantage in terms of water. In terms of land, since you're using coco peat, you're not damaging soil. And second, you're using in a 15-acre land, you're actually using half acre. So you're conserving the land use, preventing land from damage, and using 95% less water. So environmentally, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. With increasing climate uncertainty, how does high-tech farming ensure year-round production?
So year-round, so how does the year-round production happen, right? So why doesn't year-round production doesn't happen? Let's put it that way, right? So year-round production doesn't happen because when the climate is not suitable for a particular crop, right? Let's take strawberry, right? Strawberry needs certain climate when it's becoming vegetative, when it's becoming uh, generative, which is basically flowers, and then there's fruits, right? So basically, this is how the plants work. So why doesn't they produce all year round? Because they need certain climate. If you do it outdoor, you're only getting that phases in different months of the year. How does high-tech farming do it? Since they control the whole environment, they're able to replicate this at the same time. Like, for example, the plants in our farm think that they're in Netherlands, right, or in Scotland, right? So basically, they're able to get like very good climate and nature, so that they almost think that they're in Netherlands or Europe, and they're giving exact results of this, right? So the power of high-tech farming is able to replicate the required climate 3, 4, even 5 times a year.
Okay. High-tech farming requires high initial investments. How can small or medium farmers adopt it?
That's a very good question, right? If there is one big problem in high-tech farming, it is it is easily the um, it is easily the high capex involved. Unfortunately, if you control things, if you have to make a factory, you have to invest more, right? So I really hope uh, the government or the banks are developing, like in China, right? Like in China, government supports a lot if you're upgrading your agriculture, and the government supports like 75%, 80% of it, etc. Because they know at the end of the day the economy is improving because of that. So if the small and medium farmers have to get into this, the only way that can happen is two ways. Either the government or the bank takes initiative on this, or someone like us who are ready to franchise with small and medium farmers, right? Like what they do for Driscoll's example in Europe, in US, right? They create a brand and they go to small and medium farmers and ask them to replicate what they're doing, and they basically sell under their brand, right? That is possible as well. But India is still way backward compared to US or Europe. So I doubt if the second one will happen anytime. Like Sahyadri farms, right? They've been able to do it. Uh, we tried it. We find it very difficult to work with small and medium farmers to make them adapt to ours, sell in our brand, etc. So we at this point we don't look at that. I think if there is one person who can drive the change, it has to be the government or the banks, right?
Okay. Sir, how does high-tech farming help reduce dependency on imported premium fruits?
Super. So basically, when you do high-tech farming, you're basically replicating what is grown outside India, trying to grow in India at a cheaper price, right? Like what we are doing now, like strawberry, blueberry, and raspberry. So now what does happen? Strawberry is available only 3 months a year in India. Remaining 9 months, there are no strawberry in India, right? So we have to import from Sri Lanka, from US, from Thailand, etc. So what we are doing is we are trying to extend the season by 9 months, right? Which is in turn available 365 days. So if there are better strawberries available at cheaper price, why would anyone buy an imported one? Logically, right? So high-tech farming is the solution to replace imports. There is no doubt in that, right? So yeah, so to answer this, high-tech farming, the main purpose of high-tech farming that exists is to replace the imports.
Okay. What were the biggest challenges you faced when starting a high-tech farm in India?
Okay. So it was honestly, it almost feels like a very crazy and stupid decision, given all of us were earning 2 crore rupees salaries in our previous job. Um, I don't know what I was thinking when we started this, because none of the ecosystem doesn't exist here, right? So we have to start from scratch, right? So we traveled to almost 8 to 10 cities in India to figure out suppliers. We went to the designs and tell them, can you make a sample? Can you make a sample? They made a sample, they made mistakes. So it was a real, so first challenge is to find suppliers to make your high-tech equipment, right? Second challenge itself is the government. It is in a gray area for government, right? So the government neither treats you as agriculture nor treats you as industry. So all the laws, you have to find out laws. Like for example, for us to find NOC for our farm, the government didn't know what approval they have to give. They have to give us agriculture approval, they have to give us industry approval, they have to give us factory approval. What? So that one was very confusing. The third is the talent itself, right? Since we are the pioneers in this field, we have to develop the talent for high-tech farming in India, right? So a lot of them have worked in basic farms, polyhouse, etc., but none of them have done high-tech farming, which is not a complaint. Like I'm happy that we are the first to do that. But the talent also was the third one. The last one is importing plants. The laws for importing plants in India are incredibly difficult to import plants in India. There's almost a punishment to import plants. So, yeah, so these are the four challenges. In fact, these are the four challenges, but the rewards is you're the only one doing this, and you know how much pain it has taken to get here, that the next person, even if they come, they have to go through a lot of pains and sacrifice to reach here.
Okay. Are there regulatory, technical, or skill-related barriers slowing adoption?
So there is no barrier as such. But if you see regulatory doesn't exist. That's a problem, right? So the NOC, GST, for example, right? So in a way, you don't get input credit. So it is almost like you're penalizing someone to do high-tech agriculture in India, right? The MSME loan credit guarantee is specifically excludes agriculture out of it, right? So in a way, all the laws are against high-tech agriculture. And I'm 100% sure the agriculture ministry in India is not against high-tech agriculture, right? So it is just because no one has done it in the past, no one has represented to the government and said, dude, like your laws doesn't make any sense. Like you need to make these things. This will happen in hopefully if we become decently big, we'll get an opportunity to represent to in agriculture ministers and tell them these are the flaws in the laws currently against high-tech agriculture, right? So technologically there is regulatory, and second is importing plants. All the Indian laws protect the farmer, not the breeder. So all the world-class breeders, they don't want to come to India, right? So most of the fruits except mangoes we consume are all rejected varieties. Rest of the world have moved on to tastier, more yield varieties. India is just stuck in 20, 30 years back in agriculture, right? So this will only improve if they allow plant import and assure the breeders that they're going to support the breeders in case problems exist. So regulatory, these are the problems. Um, in terms of technology, I wouldn't. So the suppliers don't exist, but India is the land of jugaad, right? So you can get anything done in India, right? So if you bring a particular mold from Netherlands and ask them to build here, they will build it for you. So finding the right guys, right professional person is more important in terms of technology here. But the barriers in India are mostly regulatory. But like Nitin Kamath is one of our investors. He mentions this the regulatory barriers in India are a moat, like is what differentiate you from others. You are able to go through that regulatory barriers to get wherever you are. So that basically acts as a barrier for second person to enter.
Okay. Sir, which crops are best suited for high-tech farming in India?
Yes. So it purely depends on what is the customer willing to pay, right? So if you take vegetables and fruits, we believe vegetables is not something Indians will be willing to pay because all our vegetables go into the dishes like sambar, rasam, curry, etc., where the taste is in the recipe, like the masalas, not in the vegetable itself. Like let's say a tomato rasam, right? The taste is in the powder, not necessarily in the tomato we use or the pineapple we use, etc. Right? So that is why we believe vegetable is not something Indians will be willing to pay higher. It is going to be mostly fruits, right? And within fruits, only those fruits where a particular technology can actually deliver better quality. Either it has to taste better or it has to be available when other times fruits are not available. If it doesn't tick these two boxes, then high-tech farming doesn't make sense, right? So why did we choose our strawberry? It's available off season. It tastes substantially better than Indian strawberries. Blueberry and raspberry. So this is the logic we're going to apply across all our crops we do, high-tech farming, where it has to be tasting better and it has to taste the same or better. It has to be available in the off season. It has to be available 365 days a year. Only then we will even pick up the high-tech farming, and that is the hypothesis we follow.
Okay. What skills should young professionals develop to enter high-tech agriculture?
What skills? Honestly, I think two skills, right? One, how business works, like in terms of profit loss, the revenue cost, return on capital, etc. And the second is agronomist, someone who has grown in high-tech farm before, right? I see a lot of people in India who are very interested in agriculture, like me, but I would highly recommend that they don't start until they have like a really skilled partner who knows how to do this, basically, right? If they're not, if they don't have the relevant support to grow these crops, I think it becomes very, very difficult, right? Then it becomes very difficult to manage these farms, right? Because it is, at the end of the day, it is farming. It is not just a machine or a finance project. Yeah, so those are the two skill sets I would say.
Okay. Will high-tech farms dominate urban agriculture and supply chains in future?
Hmm, I think we are way behind for that in the world also. None of the city farms have worked because the real estate never makes sense. So my view on that is first high-tech farms in rural areas like what we do. We are still very far away from urban farming, right? Like the real estate price in any of the cities doesn't warranty a good commercial project to take place at this type of real estate prices.
Sir, what inspired you to start this company and focus on high-tech farming?
Okay, so it's a very cringe story. So I saw a Tamil movie called Katti by actor Vijay. Now he's the hopefully the CM of Tamil Nadu. So I saw his movie. It was about farmer suicides and stuff. So I took a break from my job and researched on agriculture. I made a very detailed 2 months, lived in villages, understood how farming works. And then I started something on side, helping farmers. Like I've helped like more than 2,000 farmers get like subsidized interest rate, warehouse capacity, etc., which we got awarded in France, etc. But then that's when I decided I'm going to do full-time agriculture in a well-paying job, right? So I will go learn the best agriculture practices in the world and see whichever is applicable to India, I will bring them to India, right? So I went to Dubai. They were growing tomatoes, great projects, but Indians will, including me, will not pay premium for a tomato, 100 rupees for a tomato. So that didn't work. Then I moved to UK, where we are growing strawberry indoors. I asked quick commerce in India if they will buy premium strawberries. They were very happy. So that's when I tried to convince my co-founders to move to India. Give me a chance. Give me one chance to try it out. If it works, I will. If it works in 2 years, you stay back. Otherwise, you can all go back, including me. So that is how this ended up happening. So when I started the agriculture thing, I was like 25, so I didn't know anything better. So at that point, it was an easy decision to make.
Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions on behalf of agricultureinformation.com. We would like to thank Mr. Harish Varadharajan for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Welcome.